Oh, hi, my name's Janice and I'm the owner and creator of the Glamour Club. And we are activists and catalysts for change. We're pioneers and we were set up to end loneliness. And we do that by holding events. We are vintage and themed. You come at noon, you leave at 3, get served a high tea by table hosts. And then you have live entertainment, all our favourite numbers from the flying 40s, and we say to the swinging 70s. And the town cry comes, and the mayor comes, and it's a great big celebration of the community. We're set up for those who are 50, but everyone's welcome, and we're dementia friends as well. And what it is we've been chosen by Worthing Mental Health Awareness Week to be their grand finale, afternoon tea at 3. So that's going to be a virtual but connected event online on Zoom, and that's on World Mental Health Awareness Day, which is the 10th of the 10th, and it'll be at 3 o'clock. But that is enough about me. I want to hand you over to my wonderful guest this evening, and this is Dan Flanagan. So Dan, can you tell me, we are both chatters, by the way, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, I'm Dan Flanagan. I'm the founder and creator of Dad La Soul. We're a non-profit organisation based in Worthing, and it's a revolutionary grassroots movement that aims to battle social isolation and loneliness that is felt by primarily dads, or millions of dads across the UK every day. So we're kind of the junior version of the Glamour Club, right? So what we do is we have play dates for dads and kids, and I know you've had the wonderful Matt on a few days ago that gave you a bit of background about that. But yeah, we're a publishing company, we're a apparel company, we're a play date organisation, and our thing is that we want to, as a middle-aged men, it's really, really hard sometimes to stick your hands up and go, you know, I'm quite lonely. I'd like some friends that I can talk to something about, you know, rather than just saying, you know, how are you getting on at work, or how was the match? Where do my issues or your issues get expanded? Because we're geezers and we're not allowed to talk. The downside of that is that there's 96 men a week under the age of 45 being lost to suicide. There's 73% of dads. There's 6 million dads in the UK, right, with school-age children. But then there's 73% that said they're actively lonely. And you walk into a pub and say, hello, middle-aged men, come and talk about your problems. They're not going to go anywhere near that. So what we do is have these dad and kids friendly play dates where we do rocket building, rap battles. We've had stand-up comedy, things. Get the dads in there, learning some new skills, learning maybe how to play, because you forget to play as a grown-up, and that's a terrible, terrible thing. Have a bit of daft banter, and through that, the conversations start, the friendships start, and then the real talking takes place. So that's Dad La Soul, basically.
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen loads of your events, because you've been on television quite a bit and stuff, because you are a part-time revolutionary. That's what you call yourself, isn't it, Dan? And you've got a crew of people who help you. And the ones that I've seen is where you've made the robots and everything. And so how can you know, how is it that you've come to set that up in the beginning, Dan? Were you lonely yourself?
Yeah, it's we've only got 10 minutes and we talk as much as each other, so it's going to be a very potted history. I grew up in the 70s and 80s where my dad was awarded custody, myself and my 3 sisters at the time, which was quite unusual. So I saw firsthand the absolute lack of support that he received. You know, there were single parent groups at the time, but they were very female dominated. They wear dungarees and have C&D badges. That was not my dad. So then, you know, fast forward 40 years, became a dad myself, and I read all the blogs and read all the books, and I was really excited, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I was scared to ask because I assumed I'd be judged. We then had quite a high job. I was senior analyst in a media agency over in Brighton. So on the CV, I was ticking all the boxes. Had a lovely young family, moved over to Worthing, but didn't really know anybody. And it is lonely. I had nobody to go for a pint with, even though I'm not a huge drinker, or a coffee. I started writing on my commute. That led to me starting a blog that turned into an online magazine called Don't Believe the Hype, which was for dads. So we had ended up with 18 different dads from around the country telling their stories. I then launched the world's first agency of dad, which was a PR agency, because I got sick of the way that the brands and the medias perceived dads as, you know, utter buffoons that sit there in front of the football with a can of lager and a remote control. So, well, that's the 1970s. We have moved on. Where are our role models? From there, I was doing the school runs and stuff with my little boy, but I was still really lonely. I thought, okay, best way to try and make some friends is throw a party. So I came up with the concept of Top Rocking Beats, which is an afternoon rave. I wanted to go raving, okay, in the evening, but I couldn't get a babysitter. I knew loads of old DJs. Worthing, for those who are aware, they've got some beautiful old theatres, but they, you know, maybe some of the acts they were putting on did not really resonate with my generation. They were there for the maybe traditional Worthing audience, shall we say. And I thought, this is nonsense. This needs to change. So we started doing raves in the afternoon. But then I realised that the families could come, the kids could come, but the same issues that we had as young families were the same issues that older people would have. You know, they can't go out in their feet in the evenings. Maybe, you know, Worthing itself had this traditional older generation, and suddenly you've got this influx of young families, but they're never getting to meet each other. They live on the same street because, you know, Gladys down the road isn't on the school run. She doesn't become part of these social bubbles. So we started working with Guildcare and inviting a load of older ravers along. And then we worked with a wonderful organisation in Brighton called Stay Up Late, which works with adults with learning difficulties that struggle to go out in the evening. I was doing all of that, doing these wonderful, you know, big events. We had New Year's Eve for 4 years, which was over 1,000 people, which was the largest intergenerational New Year's party in the UK. But there's still me, and I'm still struggling as a dad. So people think that on paper you've got this nice CV in this life, but I'd wander around on a Saturday and didn't want to go to soft play because you'd be surrounded by people on the mobile. You know, it is kind of weird sometimes to sit down a park and try and spark up a conversation because the mums are in the groups and they find it, you know, a lot easier. And I just think that there must be more people like me. I need to meet some friends. I thought, well, okay, I've got this sound system. I've got all these toys from the raves. Why not I just do something on a Saturday afternoon for dads? So my then business partner, lovely guy called Jim, gave me his office in Brighton, very swanky place called Propeller Net. And I put a call out and we had 15 dads and I think it's 13 dads and about 20 kids turned up. We did DJ battles, soft play. And what I noticed is that there was no mobile phones. Normally you'd go into like a kid's birthday party and it's, God, I've got to make conversation and the music's terrible. I was like, no, sod that. We're taking control of the music. The kids can run riot. And the dads just started talking.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just what team do you like and what do you drive or how's work. They were having real conversations. From there, it grew. The organisation itself has grown. There's a lovely team of people. We've got, I think, 5 active groups. The whole thing is to have a lot of these groups in different shapes and sizes around the country. So we are, when you say like a dad's group, people think it's like Fathers for Justice or for Single Dad, and it's really not. We couldn't be further away. So we're the dad that commutes all week and maybe only gets home for bedtimes. We're the separated dad. We're the stepdad that's suddenly in a relationship and he's got to build a relationship with somebody else's kids. We've got gay dads that are going through the adoption process. We've got dads that unfortunately have, lost their children. That they're still grieving. But where do these blokes go? Where do these guys go to talk to, their friends? They can't. But they come to Dad
They
to solve.
can now, know, Dan, because they go to Dad La Soul, and so they're the events, aren't they? And you've got 5 places that you do those, isn't it? It's at Hurst Pier Point.
We was at Hurst, but we do Worthing, Hurst. We just launched in Chichester a couple of weeks ago. We were active in Storrington and Brighton, but unfortunately the Storrington venue has just closed down, and the Brighton's had a change around it. So yeah, we're going to concentrate on Worthing, Chichester, and Hurst for the next few months. Also, obviously, because of lockdown,
Yeah, the momentum. Yeah,
we're stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same things happen with us, but the thing is, in between times, Dan, we've all been really inventive because we are creatives, aren't we? And the thing that I've really enjoyed a lot is your radio show. I said to myself, why, this is for dads, you know, why am I tuning in? But the subject matter is really, really good. And you've had like, I mean, I really liked Claire Kennedy from Kennedy Street, you know, Curly Watts' wife. I mean, she spoke about recovery, and from the moment she started speaking, I was just mesmerised, and I've sort of got in touch with her since. And then another one that you had was when the guy who was in the jungle as well, and he was talking about addiction and recovery and mental health illness and stuff like that. So you've got this radio show as well. But I just wonder, because we haven't got a lot of time, I'm really sorry, Dan, if you could tell me a time where you as a person felt really lonely and what that felt like and what you've done so that you don't feel like that anymore.
Yeah, well, basically, this whole organisation started because I was lonely, because I'd moved to a new town, and I knew a couple of fellas, kind of vaguely, but I could swap the odd text, but I wouldn't feel comfortable phoning up and saying I'm having a really tricky time. The mates I had were back where I came from Tunbridge Wells, or we'd have our chats on WhatsApp or Facebook. But there was nobody really I could sit there and just say, this dad thing is really, really tricky, and I don't know what to do, and I'm embarrassed to ask. So yeah, I think I almost became quite insular. I'm an outgoing person, but I'm kind of what do they call it? I'm really quite shy underneath it. So especially with going into new social situations, I tend to hide behind quite a lot of things. But I knew, Worthing was a new start for us 6 years ago. I knew I wanted to live here, so I just knew there would be more people like me. My background is creative and DJing and events, so that there must be a common ground. If you build it, that Kevin Costner thing. If you build it, they will come, just like you've done with Glamour Club. There were these hundreds and thousands of people that are stuck in front of the TV or living their life on Facebook. But what happens if you open up yourself and almost give a card to people? Look, on paper I've got this job and nice house and everything. On my social media you think everything's going well. Actually, it's really not, and I'm really, really struggling. And they're gonna, hey, what? No, that doesn't work. And then they'll actually open up. So yeah, I think the whole organisation, Top Rocking, all of the raves, the Dad La Soul thing, but because I was a middle-aged man that put my hands up and said, you know what, I'm a bit of a Billy No Mates. And you imagine going down the park and put my arms around, who wants to play R&B? No girls. But then we invited some girls, and it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. But I forgot to tell the audience where we met actually. We first met at the Better Business Show, where we shared a stand, didn't we? So we were Top Rock and Beats and Dad La Soul, and a Glamour Club was there, and
you made
all
me
the
dress up,
and I made you all dress up and everything. And we did have a crowd to our stand. That is one thing. If you're going to invite us to one of your Better Business shows, we will definitely put a little bit of sparkle on there, won't we? But
it wasn't boring, was it?
We draw in a crowd wherever we go. But well, and also the other on a serious note, we were both invited through the Possibility Club to give presentations on the opposite of loneliness. So I gave a presentation there, and so did you, Dan. Can you tell us a little bit about the Possibility Club, and then we'll just bring it to a close?
So the Possibility Club is an organisation, it's a network of change makers, people in industry, education, and non-profits, the arts. And just like in our social life, you tend to live in bubbles. You know, you find your little niche, and that's where you're comfortable. What the Possibility does is actively change and challenge conversations. So it'll be, you know, something about education, but how does that affect you in the arts? How does that work in the non-profit? We get all these different people in to have conversations, and there's a lovely number of really quite inspiring events called What If. There's obviously they can't happen at the moment, but we've got an online forum, and the idea is to we have challenging conversations. You get a chance to, you know, LinkedIn, you tend to put your game face on there, and everybody's a bit professional. That's really Possibility Club is a place where you can go and put your hand up and go, you know, I don't know about funding, but I really know. Oh, you're an expert in that. Can I have some help or share some stories? So we did our talk, and it was, I think, you know, I'm a massive fan of what you do, and I actually see it in 20 years' time. The thing is, you said you'd go from the 40s to the 70s. Right? I'm going to start taking over, because I want to take it up to the 80s and 90s. And where you've got the swing bands in there, I'm going to have hip hop DJs. Okay, we're going to have our afternoon teas, but we're going to have loads of old men and women trying to break dance. Okay, so while you're doing the driving, the natural progression is you are my future. This is why I adore you.
Oh,
and I
thanks, Dan.
It going, and I want to generally just very quickly, when we at Top Rocking, there was a lovely story once. Right, I was in St Paul's Cafe, just having a cup of tea, having a business meeting, and this lovely old lady just sat beside me and started talking. And then 3 hours later, we're still talking. And about it, she was 97 years old, the lovely Vera Chalmers. And she had so much spirit about her. And I found out, you know, she'd outlived all her family and most of her friends and stuff, but she went out every single day and started talking to people. So I invited her along to one of our New Year's Eve parties and got her DJing. So she's there playing We'll Meet Again.
Vera. I do know Vera.
She had 1,000 people singing back.
I know Vera. I know she's RIP, but she also used to love showing me her letters that she got back from the Queen, and also she was a poetess or a poet.
Yeah.
I will post a video at some point in the coming weeks for you, Dan, of Vera saying one of her poems. Oh, so we're connected again, Dan. It's lovely, isn't it?
We put her with these young kids, and this is why I want to do more stuff when we're away from this horrible, you know, lockdown. I want to do some mashups with you where we can bring Dad LaSalle into the Glamour Club and vice versa, because, you know, you've got afternoon tea, but there will be all these, you know, of your friends that maybe don't have grandchildren, or their grandchildren maybe live miles and miles away. They don't have active relationships with them. So if you're with that's that TV show, The Secret Life of 4-Year-Olds, where they put the 4-year-olds. Oh no, it was like a care home for 4-year-olds where they actively invited the kids into the old folks home, and you saw the relationships were built, and you saw the benefits. And I want to do that. I want to do the adopted, you know, granny and granddad thing through Dad LaSalle, and then have them come in. There's, you know, they'll have wonderful skills. You know, there'll be crafts lady that they can come in and teach those skills, and in exchange, a little 4-year-old could show them how to, you know, do something WYSIWYG on an iPad. And I think there you can have a hell of a lot of fun.
See, that's your creative streak coming out again, Dan. You can't help it, can you? Oh, I think it would be absolutely marvellous. I mean, that's a deal. That's a wrap. That's a wrap, Dan.
You heard it here first.
Dan, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so glad that you didn't go home for that afternoon nap.
How very dead. Look, it is very late on a Friday, and I'm zonked, and it's cold and wet outside, and I need to get my gym jams on by about 6. Okay, now I rock out on a Friday night as a hardcore raver. I want the hot chocolate, open fire.
This is
and
what
the
happens, you see? The circle of life is gorgeous. Okay,
Innit?
Dan, so I'm going to wrap it up now by saying, if you see someone who doesn't have a smile on their face, then give them yours.
Oh,
Thanks, Dan.
pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Cheers, Jam.